Hello again, everybody. So I'm a little more high energy today, at least I hope so. With regards to what happened yesterday, I was just kind of super tired. It was a very long, difficult week at work. Um, I had to work a shit ton of overtime, and yeah, I was just exhausted from all of it. The worst part was when I was finished, I had done this huge report, and my boss was like, Argent, no one actually reads these. That was just like a waste of time. You just spent like 20 hours doing a report no one cares about. And this is the same boss I've been periodically complaining about. So I was just kind of emotionally exhausted after that. So let's talk a bit about the work situation in the 21st century. Um, where to start? I guess start at the beginning, maybe back. Trying to think of how to describe it. Back during the school years. So I'm not sure how it works for people in America, and I guess kind of people in general, but um, in Canada or in Ontario at least, how it works is when you're in grade 10, you have to take two half credit courses. One is civics, and the other is careers. And in careers, you are theoretically taught how to do, well, career related stuff. You're taught how to apply for jobs, how to do your resume. They try to give you kind of career advice and that kind of thing. And back when I was going through it, what they would say is they were like, okay, it doesn't really matter what you go to school for. All you have to do is go to school, get a bachelor's degree in something, and that will show employers that you're responsible, and that will show employers that you're smart enough to do a job. So you go to university, you get your university degree, and everything will just kind of work out fine. So that was the advice by and large that they gave my generation. And what kind of happened is that was just prior to the financial collapse. I graduated high school, and I'm trying to remember which one it was. I think it was 2006 or 2007. I was 17 when I finished high school. But yeah, so I finished high school, and yeah, that was what they told me. They were like, you don't have to know what you're doing. You don't have to go to university for any kind of specific course. You can figure that out later. You just have to get a degree in something, and then you'll be set for life. And that was the unironic advice that my generation was more or less given. And that turned out to be, well, complete bullshit. And it's not only that it turned out to be complete bullshit, but later on, post financial crisis, the baby boomers would basically say, oh, we bear no responsibility for what we told millennials, because we were the ones who told millennials that it's your fault for taking our advice, and you guys deserve the crappy financial situation you're in. And not only that, but it's justice against you for taking useless degrees, despite the fact that we explicitly told you to take the worthless degree. So yeah, that's kind of, I think, a bit of kind of the background context. And I have a lot of younger viewers, so I think it's important to try to explain just how much stuff has changed. In kind of the era prior, there's kind of the 21st century with regards to the job market can kind of be divided into two categories, pre and post financial crisis. And what the financial crisis kind of changed is a lot of companies were completely flushed with cash prior to the financial crisis. They had tons of money. They were able to, I guess you could say, take a chance on people. They could say, oh, this guy's just out of school. He doesn't have a lot of experience, but we'll take him in. We'll train him. We'll let him kind of grow with the company, that sort of thing. And kind of post-financial crisis, what happened was the first thing that most companies cut was training programs and entry-level jobs. So kind of what happened is in the aftermath of the financial crisis, I was trying to explain this yesterday, but I was kind of low energy, so it didn't make a lot of sense. Let's say prior to the financial crisis, you might have 100 graduates from university every year. And there would be about 60 or 70 entry-level jobs that were decent. So if you were like an average or above average student, you could probably find something. You could probably find a job that was at least decently paying, and that you could get some experience in and you could start your career. And the requirements were maybe a bit of experience working a part-time job, which is important because it shows you're responsible. It does show that you're trustworthy, and you have some experience in a work environment. And then some education, preferably education that's semi-relevant, and the company would take a chance on you. They'd be like, okay, maybe this guy isn't the absolute best person like possible for the job, but let's take a chance on them. Let's train them. Let's let them grow kind of with us. And I think that was really kind of the attitude prior to the financial crisis. So kind of what happened post-financial crisis, when they kind of eliminated most of the entry-level positions, is instead of maybe having 60 entry-level positions for 100 people, that went down to like 20 or 10 to 20 entry-level positions per 100 people. So because of that, what you'll often have nowadays is hundreds of people applying for entry-level jobs. And because so many kind of mid-level jobs got wiped out, you'll also have a lot of like mid-level or even senior people applying for entry-level jobs. So what will normally happen now is, and this was what happened when I was looking for work. So when I was looking for work, I have a undergraduate degree. I have a graduate level. I have some graduate level diplomas. Not exactly. I don't have a master's, but I have graduate level course programs I've completed, and some other stuff like that. But the general, I guess you could say, requirement to get an entry level job now is a master's degree and 3 to 5 years experience. So yeah, so if you want to get an entry level position, not like an expert level position, you need a master's degree. And yeah, that's just kind of the way that things are at the moment. Someone in the chat is asking why live. I don't know what that means. Is there a streaming problem or something like that? It's always hard to tell because I can't really watch my own stream. Because if I watch my own stream, then I'll get like a bunch of reverb and shit like that, and it'll cause a collapse of the world. Here, let me just lower my bit rate a bit. Yeah, so as kind of entry-level work disappeared, you get kind of you need I've seen entry-level positions on LinkedIn that had like 10 to 15 years experience and master's degree required. I've even some that say PhD preferred. Okay, Horace says it was a joke. Oh, okay, sorry, it's just I've had bad experiences with stuff not working before. But yeah, so that's kind of the entry level. So you're wondering, how do you get 10 years experience if you have if you can't get an entry level job? Well, generally speaking, what will happen is you either get super lucky and you know somebody, or you have to do years of unpaid internships. So like an unpaid internship, if you haven't done them, is it's an unpaid internship. You basically have to do the most of the stuff that you would do at a normal job, but you don't get paid. And the company treats you like shit, and they basically treat it as they're doing a favor by letting you do a $50, $60, $7,000 job for free. So they tend to treat you like just complete crap. Like they don't give you any real, I'm trying to think of how to describe it. Benefit of the doubt, credit, I guess you could say. I mean, you're saving the company tens of thousands of dollars, but if you ask for just about anything, that sort of thing, then it's just it's just a freaking mess. So that's kind of, I guess you could say, part of the current issue. Another issue is, as Horace is pointing out, partially because the job market is so oversaturated at the moment with people looking for work, they no longer really have to worry about retaining people anymore. Full-time employment is kind of a thing of the past. And I remember when I was in school, they were saying this is a great thing. They're like, as opposed to my generation who had to stay at the same job for years, you kids are lucky. You kids can have a bunch of jobs throughout your lifetime, and you can have all this variety, and it's like an adventure, and there's all this experience. The thing is, though, part-time or contract work doesn't give you benefits. You're never going to have stuff the baby boomers had. Most people, I'm lucky because I actually have a full-time job, but most jobs don't give you health benefits. Most jobs don't give you retirement benefits. Pensions are don't even exist really outside of the public sector anymore. Some companies, big companies, still offer 401k or RRSP matching. But for most people, if you ask your management about that, they'll think it's a joke. So in a lot of cases, benefits are just kind of a thing of the past. However, medical costs are still kind of based on the idea that everyone has health benefits. Like, for instance, in Canada, I get $1,000 of medical coverage a year. And $1,000 of medical coverage a year, for dental. And that's basically nothing. Because in Canada, if you even need, that barely covers a year of cleaning because dental work is so expensive in Canada. Even if you were to, it does it, it helps a bit, but it's, that's just how expensive it is. If you need any work done, like a filling or surgery or a crown or any of the stuff that seems to happen every year, $1,000 will barely cover any of it. So yeah, the price scheme's like that. The price scheme of medication is also like that. And people often have this idea that medication's cheaper in Canada. And I guess in some cases it is, but Canada also has worse patent rules than the States. So drugs that are generic in the States are often not generic in Canada. Like my Cymbalta, I think, was 3 or 4 years behind in Canada. So it was generic in the States, so it wasn't particularly expensive there, but it was super expensive in Canada, 4 or 5 times as much. And yeah, so this idea that Canada has public health care is kind of misleading, because dentistry and drugs are not covered at all by our public health insurance. And for a lot of people, particularly young people, that's most of their medical expenses. That's 90% of the medical expenses they might need. It's all kind of geared towards older people. So yeah, so baby boomers have that. They also have just a completely distorted view of reality. I know in the city of Toronto, they have something called Jobs for Life. Or if you've been with the city of Toronto, I think it used to be 10 to 15 years. After that point, they would guarantee you a job for the rest of your life. That you'd always be employed by the city until you chose to retire. And you would, your I think, effective pay level would never go down. Now, that kind of thing is fantastical if you're talking to a millennial. Virtually no millennial will ever get something like that. Millennials are lucky if they get normal work. Because I remember when my first, I guess you could say, professional job, I had a 6 month contract, and then they kept extending me 1 month. So it was like, okay, Argent, you're done your first couple months. We're going to extend you a month, then we're going to extend you a month, then we're going to extend you a month. And that's often how they do things these days. So you live in a state of complete uncertainty. Like, what are you supposed to do if like, for years, basically, you keep getting, and this happens to people, for years they'll get 1 month contract extensions. And you'll be like, people are like, oh, millennials won't get married and have kids. Well, how are you supposed to get married and have kids if your life is that unstable? If you're living literally month to month, not knowing where you're going to be, not knowing where you're going to like live. How can you move out of your parents' house? How can you, I guess, just kind of have any real plans for the future? I just I think it's something that baby boomers just don't understand. I know because I know a lot of teachers, and they'll say things like, why doesn't everyone just become a teacher? And they'll say that completely unironically. I remember I was talking to one and I was complaining about how expensive medication is. And she was like, no one has to pay for medication in Canada. I'm like, yeah, everybody does except for like you. And she's like, oh, I didn't even really know that. Wow, paranoid skeleton. Holy chat spam. How old am I? Mid to late 20s. Some people think I'm older. I guess my voice sounds kind of older, even if it is kind of nasally. But is that RuneScape? It's Persona 3. Persona 3 has a shit ton of grinding in it, so I like to do that when I'm doing live streams. So yeah, so in Canada, Horace is just pointing this out. He actually doesn't live too far from where I do, so he's aware of how this stuff goes. Um, just a note: I take everything completely literally. Um, it's I think it's a nonverbal learning disability thing and a bipolar thing. I've always taken everything like 100% literally. What was I thinking of again? Yeah, so basically, so that stuff all happens. So the government, to kind of prevent the plebs from, I guess, kind of rising up and overthrowing them, and to kind of provide the illusion of a middle class, has basically taken to just creating civil service jobs, including teachers, because teachers are government employees in Ontario. In what was I saying again? To create civil service positions, which are basically one of the few places where you can have a stable middle class lifestyle. In many cases, if you work in the civil service, you are literally the top 1%. A teacher in Ontario makes, I believe it's $98,000 after 10 years. So they make $98,000, plus they have the best pension and medical benefits of pretty much anyone in Canada. And keep in mind, teachers also only work 9 months a year. So if you like prorate it based on the amount of time they actually work, it's actually probably like $120,000 or something. So the government's kind of done stuff like that and just created basically useless civil service positions. I remember under McGuinty, in 8 years, he doubled the number of civil service agents. And that's basically to just kind of maintain the illusion that there's still a sizable middle class. So, yeah, so stuff like that is basically in there to just provide uh, the pretense of a middle class lifestyle, something you can aspire to, more or less. I know, like, in some places I've been, virtually everyone there who's middle class is a teacher or works in education. It's it's gotten to the point, like in Canada, you'll have class sizes are a wedge issue. Class sizes are something that pretty much always gets reduced in all circumstances. Even when class sizes get down to like 20 students, they still want to reduce it further. The point being that they can hire more and more teachers. I mean, it's like that in America. In America, one of the things is because unions vote for left wing policies and they give so much money for left wing policies, the government, generally speaking, um, tries to increase the number of unionized employees and increase the size of the public sector and give them more money, and then they donate the money to left-wing politicians who then give more money to the I'm just trying to think of how to describe it. But yeah, there's this feedback loop of sorts. Let me just try to describe that again. The government creates more civil service positions and pays them more, and then they pay money and to their unions and vote for the government, and then the unions spend their money, give the money as political contributions to politicians, who then expand the power of unions. So it's kind of this feedback loop that just keeps going. So what's happened in Canada is, I don't know if you all know what a split class is. A split class is when you have half the class is one grade and half the class is another grade. So a consequence of class sizes is every class now in school is a split class. So you don't have cases anymore where an entire class is one grade. Nowadays, pretty much every class is split. So every class will be 4/5 or 7/8. And the general belief is that it's better to have a slightly smaller class that's split than to have a slightly larger class that isn't split. So, and that's kind of like the prevailing logic that we have in Canada among the schools, more or less. And it's exceedingly cancerous because teachers are having to divide their time equally between two different grades, and they don't really have time to focus on either one very well. Some of the chat says, I'm always surprised how many of the people I went to school with wound up in teaching. Yeah, because for a lot of people who aren't going into like a super technical field, it's the only like middle class educated position left, is working on the bureaucracy. Well, I mean, if you want a middle class or an upper middle class lifestyle, what do you have left? You can go into teaching, you can become a bureaucrat, or you can go into a highly technical field. A highly technical field being, I don't know, computer programming, some form of engineering or science, etc. And kind of something you get frequently from people like Aaron Cleary, or a lot of people who really hate those who get liberal arts degrees, are like, you should just go into STEM or the trades. And I mean, that all sounds well and good, but what would realistically happen is if everybody they told to go into the trades or STEM did, then that would just massively depress wages. The reason that wages are low in those fields is because there's a lack of people in them. If you start retooling society and sending huge numbers of people into those industries, wages will drop like a rock, and they'll very quickly have very little. The pays will just be extremely low. So it's kind of an unintended consequence of this STEM thing, and why it's not the solution. Also, in a lot of the fields, there is an overabundance of people. The wages haven't quite fallen enough yet, but there is, I believe, like architects can't get jobs anymore. In a lot of cases, engineers can't get jobs. If you go to school for biology, it's frequently listed as one of the worst majors you can take. It's very, yeah, it's. I don't really know. Yeah, it's. I'm just trying to think of how to describe it. We can talk about this whole STEM thing, and we can talk about like how it's the solution to everything, but I really don't think long term it's that important. I think long term we're going to have to come up with alternate solutions to how we're going to run society. Let's see here. Pilots in the USA, I've heard, earn a shit ton, like 3K a month or more. 3K a month is not very much money. 3K a month is like nothing. Well, I guess it's American money, so I guess that's like slightly better. But like, so someone's saying pilots make good money, 3K a month. Keep in mind, in general, you're hard pressed if you live in an urban area to if you live in an urban area, you're hard pressed to find a apartment like a bachelor studio apartment for less than $1,000 a month. In Toronto, if you want to live in anything above like a roach infested place, you either have to live like an hour away from where you work, or you have to spend like 2 or 3 grand a month on rent. So a lot of people in Toronto spend like 50-60% of their after tax income on housing. So that's kind of like how bad the situation is. And once again, it's something I don't think baby boomers understand, because most baby boomers, at least in the GTA, a lot of them own their own houses, and they bought them decades ago when the housing market was a lot more reasonable. But to get like a shitty like bungalow house in Toronto is well over $1 million nowadays, and to get a condo is just absurdly expensive. So you kind of have a generation of people who are largely incapable of saving, although millennials actually save at a much higher rate than baby boomers do and tend to be a lot more financially responsible and like I guess you could say Spartan, or just in their personal lives they spend a lot less money, and they save at a much higher rate than baby boomers do. But you have a generation of people who basically are stuck in short-term employment, oftentimes month-to-month contracts, who are living in often rather bad living conditions that they can't really afford. So you have that, and it's very difficult for people to. Horace Finkelstein says in the Burbs they're tearing down all the bungalows and replacing them with McMansions. Yeah, they really are. Saint Sweden, one's shitty first floor 2 room apartment is almost $600 to $800 a month. Yeah, it's crazy. The scary thing is rent is actually reasonable relative to housing values. Like as expensive as rent is, if you compare it to how much buying in Toronto is, it's not a lot of money. One of kind of another problem in Toronto and a lot of Canadian cities is basically everyone believes that housing's still the best place to put your money. So people have this idea that the housing bubble will last forever, and if they buy their shitty bungalow for like $1.2 million, in 30 years it'll be worth $5 million. And they put all their money into it, and they'll take out a mortgage that's like 60% of their net income, and they go into debt, but they, like on paper, they're technically going to come out ahead because they believe that their house is going to basically take away all their debt. But if they their housing value goes down, or they're incapable of meeting their extremely high mortgage payments, They basically will just have nothing and they'll be in debt for the rest of their life, which happened to people like DSP. So, you still have housing bubbles in Canada. Yes, we have one of like the biggest housing bubbles on earth in Canada. Toronto has a ridiculously massive housing bubble. Toronto and Vancouver, I think, are generally cited as having the highest housing bubbles like on Earth. And Toronto is massively increasing its population density. They keep building skyscrapers and stuff like that. I think another thing to keep in mind in Ontario is there's virtually no welfare. There's no welfare unless you're a minority. If because I remember when I was unemployed for a long time, I was looking into it just out of curiosity, and you either have to have no money left, or you're a minority. If you're a minority or a recent immigrant, there's all kinds of free shit you can get. If you're like a white male, then there's like nothing you can get. Like I remember when I went back to school, pretty much every scholarship was for women in technology, natives, or recent immigrants. Like I had, when I went back to school, I got a 97% average in my first semester or something like that. And I was like, well, maybe I can get a scholarship because I got an A plus average. And I did not qualify for a scholarship because I was a white male. But if you're like a female student who didn't, you don't even have to show any academic achievement or anything. They just throw money at you. And yeah, so you have that aspect to it. There's very little in the way of, I guess, kind of welfare to help the native population in Ontario. There's also an opposition to training Canadians. The government is largely unwilling to invest in solving labor market problems. Like one of the kind of the issues you have in the labor market in Canada is a lack of tradespeople. There's kind of there's a general lack of tradesmen in for a lot of positions in Canada, and we need an increasing number of them because we're massively just developing Toronto, and there's just more and more condos and more skyscrapers. So you have that kind of issue in Toronto, and because they're building all this, they need more skilled labor, and they don't want to invest in training Canadians who are here, even minority Canadians who are here. I mean, it's not just minorities get a bunch of scholarships and shit, but it's even like the Canadian-born Chinese or whatever. They don't want to even train them to do the job. They want to get like fresh off the boat Indians and people like that to do pretty much all the construction work. So they bring more and more immigrants in and they direct them towards the urban cities. And because we have all of that, they need more apartments. And it's kind of this endless cycle. And the problem with the city of Toronto is a left-wing city, and the left in Canada are very much against public transit. Now, I know this may sound weird to those of you who, I guess, are from other countries, but in Toronto at least, the right in Toronto supports public transit and the left is against public transit. So, like, the left in Toronto is extremely against subways, they're against bus routes, they're against light rail. The only thing they support is bike lanes. And if you ask them about it, they will say the problem with subways is it doesn't punish people for using cars. They're also against road upkeep or improving highways, but they don't want to make alternatives to it because they say poorly built highways punish people for polluting the environment. And if we just built subways, then it wouldn't punish people. So, like, Rob Ford basically got elected on a platform that largely consisted of building subways. And he was kind of the right in Toronto. But the left is extremely against subways and is extremely against any form of public transit. So that's kind of part of the problem in Toronto is there has not been like almost any major public transit projects in the last like 30 years. The city has just pissed away massive amounts of money on bullshit like diversity and pride parades and stuff like that. And they're completely unwilling to invest anything in the in the future of the city. So you have this like thing that's eventually going to lead to like a fucking urban apocalypse. You have these massive buildings going up. You have the government continually increasing immigration so you can have enough skilled workers to build the condos, and you have a complete unwillingness to invest in basic infrastructure. So Toronto at the moment has the worst commute times of any city in North America. Some studies I've seen suggest that Toronto has the worst commute times of any city on Earth, which I think seems possible to me. And it's and like we have one freeway in Toronto, the Gardiner Expressway, and the Gardiner Expressway is so bad that it's actually falling apart. Like they've had to put up mesh over it to try to prevent like pieces of it from destroying people's cars. So you have this freeway that's so shitty, there's like mesh holding it together, and they refuse to repair it and they refuse to replace it. And the city's completely broke. It's a fucking disaster, but it's going to keep just getting developed, and there's no sign of any of it slowing. The government wants the city to keep getting denser and denser. The thing is, Toronto's not only really dense, it's also, there's a lot of sprawl. Like, a lot of people live out in the suburbs and commute in. Because housing prices are slightly lower in the subways. But the whole thing is just a disaster. And it's like that in other parts of the country. Vancouver's even worse than Toronto. In Vancouver, I've seen reports that there are entire streets in Vancouver where all the houses are just owned by foreign investors. Like, there'll be like 20 houses on a street. They're all owned by foreign investors. Let's see here. Michael Shipman says, as a building inspector, I can attest to the shit quality of materials that goes into new luxury real estate. Yeah, see? I'm not crazy. But in Vancouver, there's entire streets that are owned by foreign investors because China economy strong is completely unstable and unsustainable. So in Vancouver, there are these streets that are just foreign owned. They don't pay to maintain them. So you have these streets that are just full of garbage and just shit everywhere, and the houses are literally falling apart because no one lives there and no one maintains them, and it like devastates the property values around them. And it's just Paranoid Skeleton, because you're in Sweden. What could you maybe tell me a little bit about the Assyrians? Because the Assyrians seem kind of base, to be honest, from everything I've read about Sweden. Like, they seem to be like one of like the only people there who like actually know what muzzies are like. I think a lot of them vote for the Swedish Democrats actually, because they don't want muzzies in Sweden. But so that's kind of like the circumstance a lot of people are in. And once again, because there's such an oversaturation of jobs, the employers have a lot of the Syrians, I don't know much about. I mean the Assyrians. Here, let me just spell it. The Assyrians are a specific minority from the Middle East. They're a group of Middle Eastern Christians. I believe all Assyrians are Catholic because it's an ethno-religious identity. What was I thinking about again? But so there's a massive power imbalance between employers and employees because jobs are very hard to come by. So if you're an employee, you can't really go, fuck you, I'm tired of being treated like shit. I want to, I gotta go get another job, because in a lot of cases you can't get another job. So you're kind of fucked if you're treated like shit in your job. And what often will happen here is they'll force you to work a ton of unpaid overtime, because in Canada, salaried employees don't get paid overtime. I don't know if it's like that in every country, but in Canada, you can be asked to work any number of hours if you're salaried, and you don't have to pay any. Let's see. Horace Finkelstein says GBI. I don't. What is GBI? I think I've seen that before. I'm not sure what it stands for. But yeah, so employers can make you work any number of hours. They can pay you or not pay you. It's kind of a disaster. And kind of amidst all of that, I think another thing to keep in mind is, for a lot of people, when they hear about regulation, they're like, oh, labor regulations are good. Labor regulations mean that guaranteed basic income. Okay, I'll talk about that in a minute. Labor regulations mean the government's going to come in and they're going to protect the working class from exploitation. They're going to end some of this shady employment practices and that kind of thing, which is something I think you can be forgiven on. But generally speaking, the purpose of regulations is not to protect employees and not to protect the consumer. The purpose of regulations is to make barriers of entry so high that new firms can't be founded. Like some stuff I've seen in these in what was I talking about again? I'll talk about, people are talking about guaranteed basic income. I'll talk about Mincome in a minute. I'm just finishing this point. What was I saying again? I lost my train of thought there. Sup Argent, I like your DSP videos. Sorry for off-topic response, but yeah. Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you. I always appreciate stuff like that. Okay, so guaranteed basic income. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, because I actually think it's a very interesting topic. I initially was very skeptical about it, but Ramsey Paul came out very strongly in support of it, and I started taking it seriously after that. Because Ramsey Paul, you can like him or hate him, but he's not a dumb man, and he's not really like a bad guy. So basically, what minimum income is it's some form of just redistribution of wealth that's given to everybody. So there's a couple different ways of carrying out minimum income. So I guess the most simple one is everybody gets a tax-free stipend from the government. So maybe the government will decide minimum income will be $6,000, and everybody in the country gets $6,000 regardless of your income level. So that's like one form of minimum income. There's some other things, like they'll set the minimum income at like, I don't know, $20,000, and the government will top you up. So if you are making, like, working a part-time minimum wage job, if you're working like a part-time minimum wage job and you're making 13 grand a year, maybe the government will top you up to 20,000. Murray Rothbard advocated, I think it was Murray Rothbard or Milton Friedman. Yeah, Milton Friedman. Yeah, Milton Friedman had an idea called the negative income tax. The negative income tax was basically that everyone would get $8,000 from the government, and for every $2 you make, the government would claw back $1. So you make, let's say, you made $8,000 from the government. Let's say you made $10,000 at a job, the government would claw back 5,000 of that. So the idea was it would still provide people an incentive to work, but it would also provide a minimum income. So kind of the argument for minimum income is it would eliminate all the bureaucracy. Because if you look at like I think what it started it is if you look at welfare spending, it's often like $50,000-$60,000 per like welfare recipient. The amount of money that's spent in welfare is easily enough to basically give people like if you just gave people the money, it would be a lot more efficient. So the idea was, okay, we're spending all this money on all these programs. You have to means test all these programs. You have to have huge bureaucracies. You have to have study after study after study on the effectiveness of these programs. And they're like, well, 60-70% of the money we're spending on welfare isn't actually reaching people. So why don't we cut out the middleman? Why don't we get rid of all the bureaucracy and we'll just divvy up, we'll just take all the money from these programs and just divvy it up to everybody evenly, and there'll be no bureaucracy. It'll be very efficient. So that was kind of one of the ideas. Or the idea was, okay, we can eliminate the bureaucracy, give out minimum income, and reduce overall spending, but still give people more money. So the idea was efficiency. Other people liked it because they thought it was more fair to just give everybody, regardless of race, background, gender, the same amount of money, which was kind of Ramsey Pohl's point, because if you just gave universal minimum income to everybody, then you wouldn't have the issue where only some people qualify for welfare and others don't. And it's often very subjective. It's done. There's a lot of kind of other things to that. Let's see here. Gotta look for whatever you can get, man. No one can hold your hand down the right path. It's too much of a shit show. I'm just reading some comments. And where would that money come from? The money would come from tax revenues. The idea behind guaranteed minimum income is they would take all the money that's currently being spent on anti-poverty programs, eliminate all the bureaucracy, divide up the budget that was being used on all those programs, and just give it to everybody as a direct deposit. And that's basically how minimum income would work. The idea being, because if you look at it like food stamps and all that shit, it's super inefficient. You have all this stuff. I remember people used to call into Michael Savage's show. And if you're on food stamps, like you can buy certain stuff but not other things. There's like a whole underground market in America where people will use food stamp money to buy stuff, and then they'll sell stuff they used with food stamp money for cash. And that's just fucking crazy. And they're like, well, we'll just cut them a check, and that'll work out better. So it's actually something a number of libertarians have advocated because I think it was Milton Friedman said any industrial society that has innate unemployment will need some form of welfare, and this is preferable because it means it's kind of small government welfare. It requires very little administration. So I don't know about minimum income. I think it's definitely something we should think about. It's an interesting idea. I think it's very easy to just kind of dismiss it out of hand and just be like, oh, this is the worst idea ever, etc. But I think it does have some potential, and I do think it is something we should consider at some point. I guess to me, kind of the attraction of it is, once again, it kind of ends all the carve-outs and exemptions. So if, like, you're a white male, you would get it. Let's see, the long hallway says, I can see the appeal of guaranteed minimum income, but aren't you basically incentivizing people not to work? The idea is that minimum income would like, it's not like they'd be giving people like 60 grand a year. They'd probably be getting like, I don't know, 10 grand a year or something. So the idea would be that okay, so like, I don't know, you're making like 10 grand a year off of minimum income, and then you work a part-time job maybe as well, and that puts you up to maybe 20 grand. I mean, the lifestyle of someone who makes 20 grand versus the lifestyle of someone who makes 10 grand is massive. Like, there's a massive difference there. Also, the idea would be it would subsidize people who would... it would make it more feasible to do things like unpaid internships. There's like some other thoughts behind it. if you're taking care of someone, like let's say you're taking care of your poor parents, you could collect their minimum income, or maybe there'd be a minimum income like at half a rate for kids. So if the minimum income is like $10,000 and you have children, you could collect $5,000 for each of your dependent children. The other idea is it would also be for women who wanted to be stay-at-home mothers. They could use their minimum income to help contribute to the household. So honestly, I think it would work in a high trust society. I think if Western countries were still pretty homogenous, that this would be a good idea, and this would probably work perfectly fine. In the current kind of low trust environment, I don't know if it could work. It's something I think we should definitely experiment with, and that's what they're doing in Ontario, actually, which I actually kind of support, is they're experimenting with basic income. So there's going to be, I think, a municipality or a region of Ontario. They're going to try basic income there and kind of look at the results and see if we want to try it more in the future. So I don't know. That was just kind of because I think it's pretty obvious what the arguments against it are. I just figured, because as I've said, my degree is in political science and particularly policy development. So I always find kind of unique policy ideas like this kind of interesting. It's also interesting that there are a lot of conservatives who support this idea. Nights Into Dream says if the U.S. started doing something like this, we would get so many immigrants applying, it would be insane. Yeah, like I said, I think it would work in a high trust, fairly homogenous society. I don't think it would work in the current People's Republic of Diversity. But yeah, I know it's an interesting idea. It is a way of enabling the professional NEET, more or less. Actually, kind of on the whole topic of NEETs, it's interesting because Japan is actually one of the more egalitarian countries on Earth. Japan has a very high level of income inequality. Income equality. I think they might have like the highest level of income equality in a developed country, which I just find interesting because Japan is a very rigid hierarchical society. Would guaranteed income be for everybody, or would there be some sort of standard that would qualify you? I guess kind of in its most basic level, there would be no standard. It would just be if you were a citizen, you could collect it. Some people have suggested having standards. The problem is once you start putting in standards and carve-outs and exemptions, the more you do that, the more it loses kind of the efficiency and the appeal of just having a very simple way of dealing with welfare. But yeah. Ooh, Horus, cool. That's awesome. I have Horus now. By the might of Horus, you will bow before us. Let's see here. What was I thinking of again? Aside from the Kojima World Order, I was thinking about the Kojima World Order. KWO. I admit I just have that song stuck in my head. Like when I'm walking down the street, I'll frequently just start singing Kojima World Order. Let me think here. Ooh, Ganesha, cool. No, that's not a good combo for Ganesha. Yeah, so I guess that's kind of a bit of how the system works these days. it's really looking bad for millennials. And, well, I have a lot of problems with him, and I don't like him as a person. Aaron Clary has a lot of really good videos on this topic. Just kind of talking about the future of work, the future of the economy, and how, because the baby boomers have basically prevented people from being able to get kind of normal... Ooh, Uriel. Awesome. Oh, he's not very good. Oh. I don't know. Oh, did you see the video Chapin did on nixing him yet? Yes, that was awesome. I know a lot of people like him, and I like some of his videos, but overall, he's really toxic. Honestly, Aaron Clary kind of seems like a sociopath to me. And I say that like completely just unironically. He's a fucking weird guy. I remember when I started to really dislike him after his video he did on the Colt 45 retirement plan. About how, like, once he ceases to have a net amount of pleasure in his life, he's just going to shoot himself in the head. Argent, you're a fan of Chapin, right? Yeah, I like Bernard Chapin. Chapin's a really good guy. Chapin's the kind of guy I'd love to just kind of, like, hang out with. Like, just go for, like, a walk with and just, like, shoot the shit and stuff. I've always really liked him. He was kind of one of the first people I started watching in these spheres. He has a good sense of humor. I particularly like the videos he does about women who get away with crimes. Like, I remember there was one, on the Supreme Court of Canada freed a woman who hired a hitman to try to kill her husband. So she was trying to hire a hitman, and she hired a... Argent, are you MGTOW? No, I'm not MGTOW at all. I guess my lifestyle is kind of like that, but yeah. It's too long. Let me find that video. Oh, he did like 2 videos on him. Cool. Yeah, okay, here we go.
Didn't get it right the first time? That's why the new website builder lets you add it on your phone. Build and edit your website on your phone with the new website builder, GoDaddy.ca.
Yeah, let's go on a field trip and watch this shit.
How this fire may have started.
It is chaos, apocalyptic fury.
The inferno began.
Hello and welcome to Chapin's Inferno, wandering cauldron of politically incorrect commentary. Hopefully the audio is going to sound good on this one. I actually did a test run. We'll see. So 2 days ago, this guy, Stephen Rose, emails me. He says, video sponsorship offer. Introduce your viewers to a new service, Praxi. Hi, me. Aaron Clary recommended that I reach out to you about my company, Praxi, and see if you would be interested in partnering with me. Praxi is a video chatting or audio-only app which rings on your phone just like a FaceTime call. The difference is that when it rings, the caller has already entered his credit card and is being charged at the rate that you requested. All you have to do is talk. When I saw this, I was like,
hopefully the audio's working, but this is literally like the most Jewish thing I've ever heard. You have to, like, an app where you could charge people to talk to you. It's literally like the most shlomo thing possible. That kind of stuff disgusts me, to be perfectly honest.
What are you wearing? Yes, hello. Yes, did you want to talk about books? Okay, so stop getting silly here. Here's a brief explanation. This is me on Aaron's channel last week. The nice thing about Praxi is that it gives you a new way to connect with your fans while getting paid at the same time. When a person agrees to pay you $20 for a 10-minute call, for example, He will be making a tighter emotional commitment to you and your brand.
Tighter emotional.
Hey man, this is the crusade. It's not a brand. There is an intangible quality to a personal conversation that makes much more valuable. That makes it much more valuable to people. It makes a person feel as if they've made a new friend. Even that's cringeworthy. Made them feel like they've made a new friend, even though they're paying the other person for his time. So, where exactly did you get the collateral sprain? What leg was it there, Sam? You want to tell me about? I'd be willing to sponsor a video podcast if you'd invite me on to introduce the service to your listeners, just as I did with Aaron, assuming you'd sign up and offer yourself to be available to take calls. Beyond the sponsorship, you'd make money each time someone calls. We collect a 15% commission for our service and payment processing. Let me know if you're interested. Okay, so what do you guys think, man? Think that sounds pretty sweet? No, you don't. And here's what my answer is. All right, I think congratulations on your business idea, Stephen. Yeah, and I don't want him to get roped into this. I think he's got a good idea, and I back this guy. You know, this is what America is, coming up with ideas, and if there's a market for him. So I don't mean to bring him in with this other stuff with clarity, because he's got nothing to do with it. So Steve, on the level, hey, thank you, man. I'm glad that you're out there trying to do these things. I hope you are successful. It would be a serious insult to my subscribers, though, for me to pretend that talking to me was somehow worth $20. For one, I hate the phone like Paulie and Goodfellas, and it shows. For another, my subscribers think of me as being a regular guy, and if I offered them that, they would think of me as a princess. Aaron is wildly successful at what he does, but I don't understand why. I've talked to him on the phone before, 2-3 cents tops, LOL. Actually, talking to Clary on the phone is torture. I mean, I don't know who's paying for this service, man. I don't know who's going to want to talk to somebody who's... Well, we'll get to that momentarily. Thanks, though, Bernard. Now, I thought maybe, because I haven't paid any attention to him in 3 months. I haven't been with his channel in 3 months.
Okay, there we go. Maybe is that any better?
Something, or he heard it himself when I said, I'm not Aaron Clary. You don't have to pay me $30 for me to answer one of your questions. And it is amazing to me that these kids continue to do this with him. They continue to give him money. People don't value things that they don't pay for. That was something that Freud said, that you only value what you pay for. And if you don't pay for it, then it's of no value to you. So I guess that's part of the explanation, that they just, rather than ask somebody like me who has a world of experience and actually knows people, unlike somebody like Clary, who basically just knows his incredibly stupid opinions. So he responds, he says, "Hi, me. Think of it less than I'm worth such and such and more as a digital tip jar. Like this video, call me on Praxi and explain why. It's a way for people to show appreciation."
Okay, that's like the sleaziest shit ever. It's like, hey, Archer, I like your reaction review. I'm sorry, I'm not going to read that nice comment. You're going to have to call and pay me $20 if you want to tell me that you like something. Like, what the fuck is that? Like... It's the sleaziest shit I've
appreciation for the work that you do, give you feedback, and get to meet you. It's not so much about the money. It's a way to connect with your fans. Yes, they pay you by charging a fee. It's more like a way to filter out spammers and freeloaders. Praxi is ultimately a way for you to make yourself available to the public, the quality people who appreciate your time and who are willing to pay for it. You could try it and see how it goes. There's no risk or no cost to do so. What do you think? I said, I'll tell you what, Steve. I'll read this in a video, and I'll let the brothers decide. Well, the truth of the matter is I already had designs on this email conversation. Looking forward, by the time I respond to this, I had already watched Clary's video that I'm about to talk about. So, but he seems like a great guy, and I'm like I say,
I don't think he's a great guy at all.
It works out well for you. Clary, I go to this guy's channel, and I see that he's running Cappy. He calls himself Cappy for captain, because he's Captain Capitalism. He doesn't seem too interested in capitalism. He's not interested in history. He's not interested in reading. He's not interested in writing. He's not interested in ideas. He's not interested in news. And he's not interested in politics. He wants to enjoy the decline, which means he's not going to do jack while our nation is destroyed. But anyway,
pretty much.
All of that aside, I go there and I see one video that I watch. And it's about the YouTube demonetization. And I thought your tone, I'll link to it, your tone is disgusting. You are revolting. This guy has a major personality defect that causes him not to be able to empathize with anyone. He can't empathize with, he has no idea what you're thinking. He has no idea what you're about. And when I see his videos, I see a man who's trying to impersonate somebody with a personality, because he doesn't have one. And he's lacking the motor mirror neuron is what he's lacking. So you can look into that yourself for a better explanation on why that would be. But there's just something missing with this guy because two of his closest longtime associates, Arini, who from what I can see is his best friend on the internet. Maybe I'm not seeing that correctly.
That's really sad.
But I think they're extremely close. And Forney, both of these guys, the bad news about demonetization was like a nuclear bomb in their lives. I mean, they needed that money. They needed that money, and they're getting by, hanging by a thread. And he's out there going, oh, you're just whining, you should be doing an ad before your video, and an ad after your video like me, and then it'll be all, just totally insensitive. And it's like, you're not an a-hole. You have no empathy with another human being. I'm going to tell you what, if Arini was being burned at the stake and Clary was cold, he'd go up and warm his hands on his carcass while it was burning. That guy doesn't care about anything. He doesn't care about America. He doesn't give a damn about other men.
I remember I watched this video, and he was like, you just have to run an ad. You're like, you get someone to, like, give you money to run an ad on your videos. And I was like, how? He's like, it's easy. You just get someone to give you money to put it out on your video. I'm like, who? How? Is there like some sort of like centralized place you can go where you're like, oh, give me money and I'll put ads on my videos? I don't really think so. It's kind of bullshit.
He doesn't care about a damn thing. And I'm sick and tired of being silent about this. You see, watching his videos, it's like, there's nothing there. There's no there. He doesn't want to talk about the news. That was the last thing we had. And he had a video about how watching Marvel, I didn't watch it, but the Marvel comics are like going to church. Well, on its surface, I can see what he's saying. I'm familiar with that article. I think Spockinator sent over to me. I haven't had a chance to address it before. But, it's just all this resentment and nonsense in that guy's life where I just can't even relate to it. It's like, okay, so your dad was a preacher, so now you hate Christianity. Okay, so your friends got devastated by YouTube's demonetization, so now you want to blame your friends. You want to talk like that. I could have just punched him in the face. I don't mean that literally, but I just wanted to hear him talking like that. For all these people that put so much work into their channels, and they're people that totally relying on every penny they made online. Their lives are just, and this guy has no sensitivity towards that, nothing. And they're his friends. You'd think he'd have some kind of caring about this. No, he doesn't care. He doesn't care if you get run over by a lawnmower or somebody like this. He'll steal the last penny you have. Cappy's a whore. I don't know who's watching a video where you're talking, somebody gave you money to talk about a topic, and then that's the whole of the video. It reminds me of like a casino, the contempt that they have for the punchers that go to the casino, the people that are the customers at the casino. They call them slot players. And somebody who just sits there and just sticks all their money into a slot machine, and it's just like, that's the type of contempt that he has for the people that watch his channel. And I guess, if I was offering that inferior of a product as he is, I guess I would feel the same way. As to why he has 30,000 subscribers, I'll never know. I have no idea, because I hear a guy that's just sick of people. He's sick of any type of intellectual discussion. He shunts all these people, just shovels all these people into STEM. He's never been involved in STEM. I guess he figures it's a good thing since he was never involved in it. Wants everybody.
That's true. He was never involved in STEM.
I would have the common sense to know. And let me ask you this. For the older guys here, could you take the prereq courses that they have now at universities? Could you take 12, 18 credits of cultural Marxism? Could you handle being indoctrinated by some RA in a dorm? Could you handle any of this stuff before you're telling these guys just to go there and suck it up and get your STEM degree? Do you know anything about the job market for these fellows? There has to be a certain level of economic activity for these STEM jobs to be hiring. And if that's not what's happening right now, if there's a lot of shadows and fog in our economy, as we think that there is, I don't think you should be recommending that. And for 8 years, recommending the military when Barack Obama was your commander-in-chief. What? What are you doing? So I think the guy's a total fraudster. I took a poll on my Twitter, and it started out pretty negative, but then it really became more positive. And I said, should I kick a little Aaron, Mary, Clary behind? And it was like 31% at this point said, no, he's one of us. 15% yes, he's a sellout. 23% no, I love his stuff, and 31% he's a total phony. I don't know, what is there to like and to love, man? Sometimes I make myself laugh when I think about that book, The Curse of the High IQ. When I think about him talking about how he woke up in the middle of the night because he was so smart. He just couldn't sleep anymore because he was so smart.
That's like the douchiest thing I've ever heard. I couldn't sleep because I was so smart.
Rolling around in bed because he's so... I'm like, oh my God. That's actually made me laugh a few times. I've thought about that. So I don't know what it is, and I know that I don't know one of us about what is he doing? What is he? I mean, I don't know. Whatever, man. So I can't. I mean, he's got one hell of a scam going here with all this, and this email from this guy really set me off. But it didn't set me off until I went and saw that demonetization video, in which he didn't care if somebody got burned on the stake. He doesn't care what happens to any of us. And we spent so much time building up our channels, and thinking of YouTube as being a partner with us. And as I point out, that's what happens when you have business partners who are leftists. We saw that with Jordan Owen and Arini. So those are good things to learn from. But none of us expected it to go down like that, for us just to be completely disrespected. And also the shallow analysis by Clary. He just accepted it. He's like, yeah, now we got to do something else. Yeah, we'll just do something else.
Now, to be somewhat fair, one thing I will say is I do think it's smart of him to pay people to advertise his books on their channels. I think that makes sense to me. Like, you go to people who are kind of in the same sphere intellectually and socially, and you get them to advertise your product. I mean, that makes sense to me. But no, the whole demonetization thing is just a fucking mess. So, one of the things that I'm trying to do is I'm gradually going and I'm going to try and put up some videos on some other platforms. And I guess kind of my hope is maybe I'll channel some people to YouTube. But also if YouTube just goes fucking crazy with censorship and that kind of thing, I can eventually get off. So there's this guy on YouTube, Computing Forever, who I think he's alt-light, but he recommended VidMe. So VidMe's a site that's just getting started. So some of these websites, I just kind of go to them and I just throw up some of my, what I consider my better videos. And I just figure I'll throw some up there. Maybe I'll get some traffic in that I wouldn't get otherwise, etc. Maybe kind of get on the ground level for some of these. Because that's the thing. It's sometimes worth a gamble. Because the people who started out on YouTube, who put time into it when it was really early on, have hundreds of thousands or millions of subscribers now. As shitty as DSP was, that's why he has the subscribers he has, because he just started really early on. So the people on the front page of this have 2-3 views, and on some of my videos I have 4 or 5 views. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. So yeah, people are trying to come up with. Oh, Steinhammer's over here. That's kind of cool. I guess a bunch of people are kind of looking for alternatives. But no, the YouTube demonetization crisis is a disaster. I really wonder if it's going to be the end of YouTube at some point. Because if it's the end of fucking YouTube, I mean, if people can't make money off of ad revenue, they're going to have to go do something else. There's just no way they can survive it. Yeah. Those hot thumbnails. Sorry, what hot thumbnails are you referring to? I don't make thumbnails because I'm fucking lazy. Let's see here. Is there anything interesting out? You can kind of tell what I spend my time watching just from what pops up on screen. Yeah, I've been kind of chain watching a lot of Star Wars videos lately. That's why I did the Palpatine Part 2. I don't know, I just try to talk about a lot of different stuff on my channel. I kind of think it's boring if I just do what some people do and just talk about the same thing over and over again. Actually, on that topic, I'm not even sub to Millennial Woes anymore, but let's look at what he's been up to lately. There's a couple reasons why I've kind of just don't watch any of his stuff anymore. Part of it is just it's fucking let's see, what has he made videos on lately? It's going to be all migrant crisis, isn't it? Oh, okay, that's cool. The alt-rights break up with Trump and anti-dem. I never know if I should air the shit I know I have on anti-dem or not. I kind of don't want to just because it involves a friend of mine, but let's just say anti-dem isn't what he seems to be. Let's see here. So we have a ton of videos on Trump. I think one of kind of my issues with Millennial Woes is he just basically makes a lot of videos that are like on the same topic, or he just does news videos. Like, all of this is just kind of news videos and that sort of thing. And he's okay. I think like the thing that was the final falling out was I posted on Facebook, why does everyone tolerate Greg Johnson's faggotry? And Millennial Woes is like, he's done more for the white race than you've ever done. And I was like, yeah, but he's fucking promotes homosexuality. And yeah, so. But yeah, so. But yeah, that's kind of my issue with Millennial Woes. I also, and I keep criticizing him for this, because I'm going to keep criticizing for him on this until he actually does it. I take a lot of offense, because I kind of feel he cheated his subscribers on the rot. Because I feel like because he promised the rot. Like, I don't know if anybody ever, like, even saw the rot. Let me find it. But Millennial was just like, okay, I've started Patreon. I'm going to do this big thing. I'm going to do this like professional quality series. It's going to be 100+ episodes. I'm going to go through all the psychological, philosophical, and cultural decline of the last 200 years. It's going to be like high production value. And I kind of feel he linked that to his Patreon. And he's like, I need Patreon, so I'm going to be upgrading the quality of my stuff. And he teased the crap out of it. Like, let's see here. So the rod is 18 videos. Let's see here. So we have the Rotherham series. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So half of this is stuff like that. Betchloff is cool. Yeah, I've kind of become a regular on the Betchloff show, especially since unfortunately Undertow is not going to do it anymore. So I'll probably try to go on every week if I can. I have a lot of fun on the show, to be honest. Betchloff's a good guy. He always has good guys on. Yeah, I really enjoy being on the show. But yeah, so Millennial was promised 100 episodes, and he apparently had like 100 of them done. Oh, it was Anti-Dem who was behind the Undertow leaving? Oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay, I don't know. Like, it's... My issue with Anti-Dem is, like I said, I have a whole bunch of shit on him. Or, I don't know if it's on him, but there was an incident involving a friend of mine, an Anti-Dem. And my entire perception of it could have been wrong. But the way it kind of went, I'm fairly certain that what happened, I think happened. And other people have said similar things about Anti-Dem. So it's we do not talk. I used to talk to him a bit, but a certain incident happened and now I don't talk to him anymore. Let's see here. But yeah, so that's what happened with Millennial Woes. And I just kind of felt that he kind of like should have finished the rot, especially since he claimed to have filmed 75 episodes of about it. And it was just like, okay. But yeah. Also, I kind of felt with Millennial Woes, like he kind of abandoned what made him good. Because to me, what made Millennial Woes good is back when he used to kind of do more analysis. Like, let me go way far back. Like, I remember one of the first videos that he did was Charlie Hebdo, Generations of Leftism, which was one of the best videos I've ever seen, kind of on these general topics. What about NRX Pat? NRX Pat is okay, I guess, but he's a race mixer, so. And I really don't have a lot of time for based Honda Civic nationalism. I really don't. I'm tired of them. You know what else who I'm tired of? I'm still pissed at... You know what? I shouldn't even talk about them, because if you talk about TRS, they've gone... I don't know, has anyone here seen any of the fucking Sven drama? Okay, because I don't know if anybody's seen it, but basically Sven, aka Seventh Son, has gone on like a paranoid like thing. So he thinks that like everybody is trying to dox him. I think he challenged Matt 40 to like a fist fight in like a ready to a fist fight. And it's just gone crazy over there. But I think for me the thing that I really changed my mind about TRS and why I don't watch any of their stuff anymore is a while ago a guy wrote in and he's like, oh, I like TRS, but I'm in love with this Asian girl and I don't know what to do. And they refused to tell this guy not to race mix. Like, I mean, if you talk to TRS, the average position of TRS is like killing all non-whites. And I don't think that's a straw man. I think, like, at least in their memeing, it's like to kill all non-whites, but they couldn't tell this rice farmer not to race mix. They just couldn't do it. And a friend of mine made a poll or like a thread on their forum, and he's like, how we have to talk about rice farming, and pretty much everybody on the forum was like shut him down, and they were like, no, rice farming's okay, based Honda Civic nationalism. So I don't know, I just kind of feel they're frauds on this sort of thing. I don't like people whose entire political views are just entirely memes. Like they just don't really stand for anything, they just meme. Because they're often, it's kind of funny, because a lot of the time I'm actually a lot more radical than these people in terms of my actual views. But people don't think I'm as radical as them just because I don't meme as much as they do, like with Hitler and that kind of thing. But, yeah. So, what was I thinking of again? So that was kind of the thing with Millennial Woes. I'm going to keep criticizing him until he actually makes the rot. I don't know. There is all like the whole Doxgate thing. Doxgate was interesting, but yeah. I have to go and watch that thing where Undertow left. I'm kind of curious about it. It makes me really sad because I'm not talking about NRX. About Reactionary Expat. Let me think. What else was happening? But yeah, I don't know. Millennial Woes needs to finish the rot. What was the other thing? Like, just the 4-hour hangouts were just really self-indulgent. I mean, he can do whatever he wants, but I don't know. If he's going to make it a career, I think he needs to go back to doing, like, big projects like The Rod and stuff like that. There's Computing Forever. I like Computing Forever a lot, actually. He's pretty funny. I think he's alt-light, but oh well. DSP Gaming. Out of curiosity, just while we're having fun, let's look and see what DSP's up these days. It's kind of funny because sometimes I get like as many views as DSP does on a video. Persona 5 playthrough part 198. Who the fuck is gonna watch that much? Oh my god. Look at that. 211 parts. What the fuck? Oh my god. I wonder if that's the longest one he's ever done is going to be Persona 5. Persona 5 might be the longest one he's ever done. But DSP's views are so shitty. Like, I can't believe it. Like, Ukulele gets, like, this is from a week ago, and it has, like, 415 views. Let me see here. Let's look at some of my videos, just for fun's sake. The server encountered an error. Of course, the server has an error. The server always has a fucking error. Fuck you, YouTube. Argent, what do you think of Adam Wallace and his decision to leave YouTube a couple months ago? You know what? I was waiting to see if he was going to come back or not, but Adam Wallace and his kind of cult have all left. So, yeah. His video really offended me. You know what? Fuck it. I'm in a manic mood today, so I'm going to burn some bridges. Let's go watch the Adam Wallace video. Let's go watch this shit. The Plebeian Podcast. I'm Adam Wallace. This actually like really pissed me off. Okay, so we're gonna watch this. He's obviously not coming back now, so there's not really any reason to not address this. For the time being, I cannot continue to host the Plebeian podcast. I have realized that fundamentally I am unhappy with the direction of this YouTube channel, West Coast Reactionaries, and other online endeavors of mine. So I guess because there's no real reason, because they shut it all down, I can talk about this. So I briefly wrote for West Coast Reactionaries, and basically I left it because Adam Wallace wouldn't let me write stuff about my personal experiences. So I was like writing about just a lot of the like memeing LARPy people in these spheres and like stuff like that. And he was just like, you need like statistical evidence to support your claims. And I was like, well, I'm just writing from personal experience. Why do I need to do that? And he just basically just kept shooting my articles down, saying they weren't professional. So I just kind of said fuck it and left. Also, I just didn't like the content really. I entered the online right, the reactosphere, which was later absorbed beneath the alt-right umbrella, at a time in my life where I was hungry for friendship, understanding, and community. Roughly 3 years later, a certain level of the after-mentioned has been achieved. I'm ready for the next step. This inevitably leads me to new pastures. See, I kind of hate this, because it's basically shitting on all the people who believed in him. Because he, like, for years he's been talking about Evola, he's been talking about spiritual awakening, he's been talking about how all this stuff is important, and now he's basically kind of doing what the left does to us and pathologizing himself. He's like, well, I just kind of did this because I was lonely, I didn't actually believe it, and it's just, yeah. The next step. If a man is hungry and is faced with either dirt or nothing, he will eat dirt. It will fill him for a time. It might prolong his survival for a few more days, but essentially it is still dirt and not food. You hear that, everybody who supported Adam Wallace, or everybody like me who does this? You're dirt. That is kind of summarizes how he felt about all the friends he made online and all the people who followed him and respected him. And I don't know. I really don't like it. And I could have held off making this video, but once again, a lot of the people who were kind of associated with him also left for similar reasons. The alternative right and the other ideologically centered communities which have surfaced on the internet in recent years go quite a surprising length in their attempts to remedy the adriftness of modern man. But at the end of the day, they represent only the faintest beginnings of the quest for rediscovery of true man, if anything at all. Yep, you hear that, guys? You all suck, is basically how I interpret this. Let's see if he's even going to thank all the people who supported him over the years. Oh, okay, yes. Okay, so he does. Okay, so he does thank them, even though he calls them dirt. In this, I am no teacher, nor am I a leader. Yeah, except when you basically pretended to be one. We've all come through all the better in the end. My sincerest apologies towards anyone who I have acted unfairly or with haste. I hope that you can forgive me, but also I hope that you can maintain peace in spite of my various bouts of useful arrogance or hostility. Oh, this is so... This is just... I kind of find this passive-aggressive, to be honest. My apologies also to those who might feel stranded on my ending this channel due to the help it has given them over the years. Understand that I am not abandoning you, only that just as you have your journeys, I have mine. What the fuck does that even mean? It is strange to think that I'm proud of people who I do not really know, especially those who are twice my age or older, but that is the truth of the matter. Thank you again to you all. And see, I kind of take this as him saying, like, all of us who were his friends, all of those he interacted with, he's like, oh, you aren't real people. I don't actually know you. And, I mean, I don't know. I think I know the people I meet online. In a lot of cases, the people I meet online and who I talk to, I know more about them personally. I have kind of a more deep relationship with them than I do with a lot of people IRL. And I don't mean that in like an autistic way, but because they're people who kind of have had similar life experiences to me. A lot of people online are more kind of willing to share details about themselves. So I don't really get this idea that you can't have intimate relationships with people you haven't physically met. I mean, all throughout history, people have had like a lot of friends that they just write to. Letter exchanges are very common. In due time, I might restart the Plebeian podcast, whether this is several months or several years away. I do not know. I have enjoyed my time with the community, which has surfaced around my videos, and perhaps when we are all slightly older and slightly more mature, we can continue our personal and intellectual journey together at a higher level. At a higher level. At a truly Evolucan level of discourse. Yeah. So yeah, that was the farewell video. Oh, and then I have the latest comment. I'm not going anywhere anytime, so check me out for all your edgy videos. To be fair, Adam does this like every 6 months. He kind of like just leaves. I don't know. I mean, here's my thing. If he had just said, look guys, like a bunch of shit is happening in my life, I'm just not going to have the time or the lifestyle to do this anymore. That would have been fine. But I don't know, to kind of portray it as like he's moving on, like we're all just kind of children and he's kind of grown up beyond us. I don't know. That's the way I interpreted it. You can take it for what it's worth. That was just kind of my impression of the whole thing. Oh, anyways. Oh, yeah, I had one question. I'm going to end this soon. Okay, so I'm friends with, I don't know if anyone you know Earl of Grey on Facebook, but I'm friends with him, and he's offered to share one of my videos on his channel as on his Facebook page as kind of a promotion. And he has 45,000 viewers. So yeah, so let's see here. Does anyone have any recommendation, like what video I should ask him to share? Like, what should I ask Earl of Grey to share on his page? Like, is there something in particular you think represents my brand or is one of the, like, better things I've done over the years? So I'll just wait a minute and see if anybody has any comments on that. Yeah, so just any suggestions on what video I should ask Earl of Grey to share on his Facebook page. Just, yeah, because I could really, it would be really good exposure. Really helpful. So while people are posting about that, I'm just looking through DSP's backlog. Like, this guy has so few views. I can't believe it. He's playing, like, brand new games, and he can't even get 1,000 views on most of these videos. Yeah, Earl of Grey's fans hate the alt-right, but he actually really likes me. And I don't say that as like a brag, he just does. He's a great guy. He's very, very different IRL. Your Jack Donovan review is great. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That got the most hate of pretty much any video I've ever put out, was my anti-Jack Donovan video. Like, he has like this fucking cult who just, let me see. I think it got massively downvoted. I don't even remember if I still have it up. Yeah. Oh, okay. It didn't get quite as much hate as I thought it did, but a lot of people really hated that video. He's such a weirdo, though. The Giver was awesome. Oh, okay. Maybe I'll ask him to share the Giver review. If people liked it, like the Giver review was actually something which let's see here. Common filth. So people are saying the Giver one. Okay, maybe I'll ask him to share the Giver one. The Giver was actually one I did years ago. I think let me see when I uploaded the Giver. Because I have like a backlog of stuff. Because like some days I just feel like I have a couple ideas, so I just feel like putting a couple videos up. So, oh wow, the Giver actually got a lot of views. Yeah, so maybe I'll ask him to share that one. Yeah, I recorded that way back in 2015. I just had it sitting on my channel. I just have a backlog. Like, I have a couple reaction reviews I've never put up. Let me actually see, just while we're looking at this. What do I have set to private? The Blessings of Living in the Death to Normies Party. Blessings of Living in an Age of Horror and Darkness. Yeah, those are some of my better ones. I'll think about that. Okay, so a couple votes on that one. A couple votes on for The Giver. Okay, I'll put those, I'll say those as my suggestions to him. Let's see, what do I have? Yeah, like I have my reaction review of Assassin's Creed I've never put up. I have the top 5 worst fandoms. What else do I have that I haven't put up? I have my Catholic stuff video. I have a couple like just non-time sensitive ones I've just never bothered to post. Oh yeah, I have my Fallout New Vegas review that I've never put up. I have to put that up at some point. It's just kind of in my back pocket. I have a whole bunch of character profiles in the backlog. You should give us a new video to tell new viewers about your videos. Yeah, I should do that. Oh yeah, I have the entire Command and Conquer series that I haven't put up. Yeah, I have Book of Eli, MGTOW the movie. I have Joy. I have Oblivion. I have Wanted. Maybe I'll put out Joy. I have Ex Machina. Yeah, I should put out some of these sometime. I'm curious to see your opinion on New Vegas. Yeah, I'm actually, it might surprise people, but I actually generally side with the NCR in New Vegas. I don't really think the NCR is as bad as people think they are. Caesar's Legion are just fucking crazy. Yeah. Maybe if people want it, I'll put out the Fallout New Vegas one tomorrow, actually. That sounds like a good idea. Just because I think that's one that I think a lot of people would like. I like Mr. House and I like the NCR. Caesar's Legion are just fucking like insane. I know a lot of people like how fucking LARPy they are, but they are like completely crazy. But anyways, so I think I'll ask Earl of Grey to do either The Giver or The Blessings of Living in the Age of Darkness, and I think either of those would probably be good. Anyways, everybody, I should probably go do some other stuff. Good as always to see you guys. Have a good Sunday.